Call me, Jay Peterson, your auto owner's insurance agent in Clinton, for a virtual or in-person appointment at 935-6605.
The annual Clinton Apple and Pork Festival to benefit the DeWitt County Museum's C.H. Moore Homestead is this Saturday and Sunday on the Homestead grounds on Business Highway 51 on Clinton's north side. Tour the museum and enjoy the over 30 food booths that are operated by local nonprofit groups to support their efforts throughout the year. The entire community gets involved with events on the square and all over town. Come to Clinton this Saturday and Sunday for a step back in time and tune into the Big 1520 across Central Illinois, 92.3 FM in DeWitt County and 106.5 FM in McLean County. WHOW all weekend for expanded coverage. Brought to you by Clintonia Eagle Theater in Clinton. Movies add the magic, we add the fun. And Clinton Antique Mall in Clinton. 15,000 square feet of quality antiques, vintage, and collectibles. Visit Clinton Antique Mall.
Your friend in Central Illinois. WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show is streaming to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest on this segment of the morning show is Caitlin Mellendorf, nutrition educator with the University of Illinois Extension. Good morning, Caitlin. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm doing very well. How about yourself?
Doing good. Thanks for asking. And we're going to talk a lot of things fall today, Caitlin. We're going to talk some fall foods, some fall courses coming the way of folks as well. But I've got to ask you, so when does the fall season kind of kick into high gear for you? Caitlin, I imagine you really being into the fall, really leaning into it with the sweaters and the apples and the pumpkins and all those good things. When does it start for you? Is it that Tuesday after Labor Day, we kind of wish summer well and goodbye and all those things on Labor Day weekend? Or is it when it's going to really cool off later this week? When do you get into the fall season, if you will?
I get into it when I start noticing that there's less light in the evening. And that just kind of triggers me to go, okay, it's getting darker. It's going to get colder soon. We're going to get into all the decorations for the holidays coming up. And that's when I start to think about, okay, it's coming. Probably when I actually get into it is I've got a couple of sort of signage. They're wood blocks that spell out the different seasons. So when I take down my summer blocks and I add my fall blocks, that's usually kind of makes it official.
Gotcha. Cool. Good deal. I've just, I told you off air, I've been kind of surveying my guests a little bit to find out when they really, really get into the fall spirit. So, yeah. And I'm wondering, for me, is it too early to break out those fall scents and the, you mentioned the fall decorations and those things. We've got some of that at our house we'll put up in the fall season. Too early for that? Do I need to wait till this weekend when we're kind of cooling off and things are a little more fall feeling in the air? What do you think about that, Caitlin?
I think you do what makes you happy. So if you are ready for fall, you go decorate.
All right, then. That's yeah. All right. Very good. Caitlin, let's dive into, that was not the answer I was expecting. I was ready for a hard line, yes or no, this date or do this. But I've kind of gotten and I have to confess, I've actually kind of gotten into the fall stuff a little bit sooner than maybe I wanted to. Now, I will say today and tomorrow, whether it's going to be crazy hot, not really into it right now, but probably by Wednesday or Thursday, I'll be ready for it again. But anyways, let's not carry on that conversation too much longer, Caitlin, and let's talk about fall foods. We've got pumpkin season, apple season is here, squash, all these great things are coming our way. What comes to mind for you, Caitlin, when you think about fall and the food?
I think it's a really great transition into something different. And I think that's what all the seasons do. So we're probably seeing a lot of summer produce and summer gardens, and farmers markets are starting to wrap up. So you might see still some more cold weather fall foods. So we probably weren't growing spinach in the middle of August. It's a little bit too hot, and it makes the quality of the spinach kind of blah. But it is a colder weather crop, so we might see another round of people doing more cold weather gardening. But generally, we're from the summer crops. But now we're really seeing more of what you said: apples, pears are getting into season. We're getting things like Brussels sprouts and broccoli. And then I know like Clinton just had its Apple and Pork Fest not too long ago. And so we're getting to more of the seasonal kind of warm meats as well. I think of like ham and pork and beef kind of for winter, but excuse me. But yeah, we're just kind of it's that transition time. So you get to kind of go, all right, we're going to put away the summer things, like maybe less tomatoes, maybe less green beans, maybe you shift to some more of that seasonal stuff that's available this time of year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Any recipes you like to go to, Caitlin? Is there anything that when the fall rolls around, you're like, I just cannot wait to make this up? Anything come to mind there?
Well, and I know we were talking off the air too. I just came back from vacation, and one of the meals that we had out at the beach was, usually, and everybody usually has a different meal when they go out to eat. So what I had was a pork chop with apple butter and Brussels sprouts and a layered like potato gratin kind of thing. And it just felt very fall, just warm and comforting, and just like you could wrap yourself in a blanket and just enjoy life.
Yeah, no doubt. So yeah, that sounds great. Absolutely fantastic. And when it comes to apples, I have to confess, Caitlin, I've never actually made like a homemade apple pie. I'm starting to see more ideas for like grilling apples, believe it or not, throwing them on the grill and making some things out of that. I've seen where like you can saute apples. I've gotten a couple recipes where you could saute some apples like it's with a pork chop or something like that. Apple recipes, what do you like to go to there?
So I haven't done, apples are super versatile. So you can do applesauce. We did a series a couple years ago with pressure cookers, so electric pressure cookers, so things like Instant Pot. And one of those recipes that we did was making applesauce. And we talk about, the different varieties of apples and what makes a really good cooked apple, what's maybe a better raw apple. And so you can make your own applesauce. Obviously, you can buy all of this. That is not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're feeling in the mood to, do that, you can do applesauce. I regularly do breakfast for dinner. And one of my add-ons to my breakfast for dinner is fried apples or cinnamon apples. And so it's apples, butter, and cinnamon, a little bit of water. And I like those just as a side, but I've put them on pancakes as kind of a topper. I would probably do them on like that pork chop that I mentioned. I think that would be delicious.
Mm-hmm.
More apple bread, like you can bake some bread with apple pieces. Oatmeal, like overnight oats, has been really popular in the last couple years. So I've seen a lot of like apple pie inspired overnight oatmeal. Of course, like the traditional pie or crisp is a great thing. So definitely use what's in season, right? This is kind of the purpose of having things that grow locally, especially here in Illinois. We can grow apples, so that's great to just deck yourself out with apples.
Got to hit that apple orchard and get those apples. Or I know there's probably folks with apple trees all over the place. You can probably hit up their places as well. But it's now when it comes to pumpkins, Caitlin, I'm already seeing the pumpkins out and folks are ready. Obviously pumpkin patches have been open for several weeks now, but anything pumpkin wise come to mind for you? I'm not a big pumpkin fan, so I'm not going to be able to relate to this conversation super well, but how about pumpkins and recipes and those sorts of things?
Well, I love to just start off with Illinois is the #1 pumpkin, like processed pumpkin manufacturer in the country. So we have the Libby manufacturing up north towards Morton. So we in Illinois, we grow a lot of processing pumpkins, meaning that they go towards making things like pie or canned pumpkin or canned pumpkin pie mix. And so that's just kind of like a cool little ag thing that I always like to be like, we do a lot of processing. And the other tip that I like to say is that your classic jack-o'-lantern pumpkin is probably not the best flavor if you want to, again, process your own pumpkin, like puree pumpkin. is not a great quality. So make sure that you're looking for something that's labeled a pie pumpkin or even more like a pie squash. Might be a little bit more apt. Doesn't always have to have that bright yellow out exterior that we're probably used to with jack-o'-lantern pumpkins, but you're going to get a much better taste out of that squash. Yeah, in terms of pumpkin, I am a fan. Just primarily, I go back to that overnight oat. I've got a pumpkin pie inspired overnight oats. So basically, just pumpkin with my oatmeal, my spices, and whatever milk of choice. And I'll throw in some like pecans or some walnuts to kind of add that in there. The pumpkin bread, like it's just a lot of baking. I feel like we get into fall, so lots of baking things, pies and breads and dip. We have a really popular recipe that is a peanut butter pumpkin dip. And so it sounds maybe bizarre that peanut butter and pumpkin would go together, but it's a very popular recipe on our Eat, Move, Save website. It's one, like it's a go-to dip. So if you're doing any parties or you're hosting anything, try it out. It's a surprising combo, but really tasty.
Talk to me, Caitlin, about the crock pot. Is it or even the pressure cooker? And you talked about baking. Obviously, that's going to fire up the oven and that sort of thing. But is it too early to start thinking about what we can throw in the crock pot? These things that are going to make our house smell good. Warm things up a little bit at the same time. How about what comes to mind for you there?
And I'll argue that a slow cooker is good any time of year. So if you don't want to turn your oven on in the summer, do a crock pot. But yeah, it's definitely, I think people use it more in the winter so they can have their house smell really nice. I like things that can sit for a while. So chili does really well. Any type of shredded meat, so Italian beef, shredded pork, work really well in a slow cooker. We've done a little bit with like corn chowder in my slow cooker at home. I don't let that one go all day because I don't want it to turn to mush, but soups are a really great one. I think like taco meat. So add, some shredded chicken and spices. Oh my gosh, there's just so many things that go really well in your slow cooker. And yes, like you said, even things if you're hosting, if you're going to do some parties or you're going to be doing some events, throw some of your drinks. So have like hot chocolate in your slow cooker or apple cider in your slow cooker, just so that one, your guests can serve themselves, but also that makes your house smell really nice.
Absolutely. Well, Caitlin, I look at the clock. Believe it or not, we need a timeout already. So where do folks go to learn about all things fall season cooking and recipes and the things that you're doing? Where do folks follow along with all that?
Yeah, so check out our social media. We'll post things that are coming up event-wise. But I know we usually have a seasonal section to our main extension webpage, so our statewide page. So that's extension.illinois.edu. And we'll have all sorts of timely things. So as we're getting into fall, you'll start to see more things on the website pop up that are fall related. So growing fall crops, working with slow cookers, all kinds of fun fall related things.
Again, that is Caitlin Mellendorf, nutrition educator, University of Illinois Extension, our guest on the phone. More to come with her on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW.
MR Systems Wireless is your local internet provider for Clinton and surrounding area. They have the products you want and the local service you deserve. MR Systems Wireless Internet service for home or business includes unlimited data, unlimited streaming, and unlimited calling. Plans start at just $48 a month. And get a free Roku 4-lease with our media packages. Get the speed you need with MR Systems Wireless. Call them at 935-2100. That's 935-2100 for MR Systems Wireless.
Getting your pet's needed medications is easy with Covenant Animal Clinic in Clinton.
Yes, very convenient, especially because I live in Bloomington. It always gets delivered right to your door.
I've used the online pharmacy. It's so easy.
Click the Covenant Animal Clinic icon at DeWittDailyNews.com to learn more.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police splatter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
The annual Clinton Apple and Pork Festival to benefit the DeWitt County Museum's C.H. Moore Homestead is this Saturday and Sunday on the Homestead grounds on Business Highway 51 on Clinton's north side. Tour the museum and enjoy the over 30 food booths that are operated by local nonprofit groups to support their efforts throughout the year. The entire community gets involved with events on the square and all over town. Come to Clinton this Saturday and Sunday for a step back in time and tune into the Big 1520 across Central Illinois, 92.3 FM in DeWitt County and 106.5 FM in McLean County. WHOW all weekend for expanded coverage. Brought to you by First National Bank and Trust Company of Clinton, where you can do more with your money. Learn more at firstnbtc.com. Member FDIC.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show is streaming to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest on this segment of the show, once again, is Caitlin Mellendorf, nutrition educator with the University of Illinois Extension. And Caitlin, as we chat this morning, let's dive into briefly here for a few minutes, talk seniors and nutrition. This was a conversation I had with another gentleman that comes on the show to talk about nutrition and fitness and things. And it's just always good to continue this conversation. So what do you have for us today?
Yeah, so I like this topic. I know in a previous month we've talked about nutrition for men, and so kind of continuing parts of the life cycle and talking about older adults and aging and what does nutrition play in that. So a couple of things that I just want to share and remind people is we tend to see more chronic disease with aging. It's just, part of it can be a lot of things, genetics, lifestyle, but aging is just that unchangeable risk factor we have no control over. So we do see more chronic disease. So things like cancer, heart disease, and diabetes tend to rise as the body gets older. And so nutrition can play a role in helping manage those health conditions. And so I want to invite any of our listeners today that have maybe parents that are struggling with chronic disease or seniors themselves that are working, living with a chronic disease, that, incorporate nutrition into your routine. So if you need assistance with that, go talk to your medical care provider, see if they can refer you to a registered dietitian, a diabetes educator, someone who can work with you and make sure that your nutritional needs are being met to just improve the quality of your symptoms, of the outcomes of your chronic condition. So just want to put out that little PSA. Another thing is that the body absorbs nutrients a little bit differently in an older body. And so we tend to want to maximize those nutrients. For example, vitamin B12 is a nutrient that's found only in animal products. And it is important for things like the just general metabolism. A lot of the B vitamins are involved in different metabolic processes, converting food into energy. It's also involved in the nervous system. And so with vitamin B12, what is very helpful to get vitamin B12 out of food is stomach acid. But stomach acid tends to decrease with aging. And so we can see individuals having lower absorption of vitamin B12 with that lower stomach acid related to aging. So we may either want to up the vitamin B12 that we're eating, possibly doing supplemental vitamin B12 or possibly doing shots. So you may need to go to your medical provider and test your B12 levels, see if they would recommend something like a shot to your arm for B12. We see that with vitamin D as well. So again, just less absorption. A lot of vitamin D we get through the sun if we're outside a lot, or through food if we're doing supplemental things like milk or supplements. We tend to see lower absorption rates for vitamin D with aging as well. So we see a lot of this just differences between younger bodies, older bodies. So really maximizing the nutrients that we're getting is really important with that. And then lastly, just want to invite that there's a lot of physical changes that you're seeing. So if you're finding you're having trouble swallowing or chewing foods, or foods just aren't sitting right with you, you're having a lot of constipation or diarrhea or reflux, again, work with a provider to see what we can figure out in terms of making your symptoms more comfortable, make it easier for you to eat and get those nutrients that you need. So if you have trouble with your jaw, or you have dentures, or you're have trouble swallowing, I know that my grandma had one of those issues where swallowing, like some of her foods and some of her medications, was just really challenging. So working with a physical therapist or a swallowing specialist can be really important there. The goal is that with aging, we have positive, healthy aging, and sometimes we need some assistance there. So that's my little spiel on seniors. Make sure you're getting in those nutrients that you need. Work with a provider if you're finding parts of your eating experience are really challenging.
All right, very good. So keep those things in mind. Caitlin, appreciate that. Is there a spot folks can go you direct them to for more information on senior nutrition and senior health, anything like that?
Yeah, so our family life team does a lot more of this. And so I invite people to visit that website. So it's extension.illinois.edu/families, or to be family. And so it will have things about all sorts of across the lifespan. So working with little kids, but also up to seniors. And then for any caregivers that are listening, we do have our quarterly companion newsletter that comes out once a quarter. So that has resources to just engage seniors. It's kind of that like puzzle activity sheet. So it's a free resource. It's very fun. So check out quarterly companion. That'll all be linked on that extension.illinois.edu/family resource.
Very good. Quickly, Caitlin, about a minute here. Tell us a little bit about some new some food safety courses coming our way around the corner. What's going on?
Yeah, so my last food sanitation course will be in our Decatur office, November the 2nd and the 4th, and that is a course designed for anyone working in the restaurant industry. So that's food service, fast food, K-12 nutrition, hotels, hospitals, all the things. So if you need that training, or if you have questions about if you need that training, feel free to reach out and let me know, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have about the course. So not a class that the general public tends to need, but definitely if you are working in a food service industry, you will have to do that every now and again. So come do it if you need it this time.
Caitlin, always good to have you again. Where do folks go to learn more about these classes and just all the things we've talked about this morning? How about just general information?
Yeah, so check us out locally at go.illinois.edu/DMP for DeWitt, Macon, Piatt, or check us out generally around the state at extension.illinois.edu.
Very good. Caitlin Mellendorf, nutrition educator, University of Illinois Extension, our guest on the phone for this morning. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton.
WHOW.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. The Queen has returned to Windsor for the final time. The late monarch's hearse, escorted by the Queen's Guard, arriving now at Windsor Castle. The funeral procession at Windsor follows this morning's state funeral at Westminster Abbey. A day that's packed with events in London and now in Windsor, as Great Britain remembers the Queen and bids a final farewell to the monarch who reigned for an unprecedented 70 years. Hurricane Fiona is pounding the Dominican Republic after battering Puerto Rico. The governor of Puerto Rico describing the damage on the island as catastrophic. Fiona knocked out the island's power grid, unleashed flooding and mudslides across Puerto Rico. On Wall Street, the Dow down 3 points. The Nasdaq is off 2.